All right, it's 1 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Hello and welcome to our second week of the Salamander V65 release training series. Thank you all for joining. I see there's about 13 of you on here, so thank you all for being here today. So this month we're running the trainings a little bit differently due to the big release that we did in December right before the holidays. We decided to do blocked sessions to allow us to dive deeper into each of the new features that was released in December. So today's training is all about the new Tier 1 Federal National Personnel Qualifications. And with me today is our special guest speaker, Jeremy Utter. Oh, and I hear some background noise. If you haven't done so, please mute yourself so that we can limit the background noise. Thank you. So Jeremy's from FEMA Region VIII, and he played a crucial role in the design and structure of the new Tier 1 qualification set. So he's going to talk the differences between the legacy Tier 1 qualification and the new Tier 1 qualification. He'll also talk about how to access the new qualification set and more. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the floor over to Jeremy so he can walk you through the presentation today.
Thanks, Leah, and good afternoon, everyone, or morning if you happen to be on the West Coast, as I kind of am. Appreciate the time to go over this today. But just to be clear for folks, this project in the recreation of the Tier 1 qual level actually started 4 to 5 years ago when I was at the state of Colorado as the logistics chief there. So this is not a FEMA coming into Salamander and saying this is the way we're going to do it. It just happens to be that that's where I work today. But this has been a process many years in the making to get us where we are right now. And for those of you here today, I do have the chat window open. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in there. Also at the end of this will be my email as well as Leah's email that you can send any other questions or conversations to, and we'll get those answered right as soon as we can. So let's go ahead and jump into the Tier 1 qualifications components of the new system. Once your account has been switched over, this is the new structure that you will see when you log in. As many of you are aware, in the old legacy system, qualifications were kind of all over the board in there. Sometimes they were repetitive, where they didn't make sense. So we embarked on this journey, like I said, about 4 or 5 years ago now, and this is the new structure that was come up with, and it is based on the original 15 emergency support functions from the ICS arena. You will also notice on the bottom here there is a 16th folder, and that is the vaccines, and once we get further along here, Leah will explain to us how that's working. But again, this is how the new structure is going to look when you log in once your account has switched over. On this next slide here, I bring this one up as a lot of organizations are, a lot of states are looking at how they can better manage their Tier 2 qualifications. This happens to be an example of how we did it in Colorado so that it mirrors what is now at the Tier 1 level as well as what's at the Tier 2 level. As many of you know, we have lots of admins across our jurisdictions that may or may not be super familiar with the various qualifications and how to find them, etc. And this structure helps those folks find things a lot easier. So that's just another example of what a Tier 2 structure could look like. I have seen across some accounts that they also replicate this down into the regional and to the local levels. But again, that's up to how your state or your organization manages those. One of the big changes that you'll notice with the new structure is that also changed the qualification coding or the abbreviation that goes on the back of the card. Most all of us on this call today pretty much use the same standard printing template both on the front and the back sides of the card. So when you flip over the back of your ID card, you'll see kind of there in the middle or just to the bottom of the middle, the section where the individual's qualifications are also listed there in the event that you're not able to scan them out in the field. And in the new structure, what you'll see to the left of the dash, or it's actually an underscore there, is the qualification body. This example here happens to be NQS, or the National Qualification System. And then the tail of that tells us that this person is an intelligence analyst. One key to this, though, is all qualification codes are limited to 10 characters maximum. So that's why as we go through this, you may see that some of the qual codes might not make a whole lot of sense, but we are limited to that 10-character maximum, and that's where those abbreviations then come from. You'll notice, so let me back up here. You'll notice as an example here on the Tier 1 that there's a plus sign next to every one of the ESFs. And what we have done is within each ESF, we have looked out nationally to all of their respective qualification bodies that are out there and included them in their own child or subfolder underneath the emergency support function. And you'll see that as we go through there. In some ESFs, there are multiple qualification bodies depending on how you apply that discipline. In some areas, though, there may be only one or two, or there may not be anything listed there yet. So that's why you see all of those plus signs there. And you see, as we start getting into these, in the upper left-hand corner, ESF1 Transportation, the only national body is the U.S. Department of Transportation, so you're only going to see one folder underneath there, versus when you look just below there under ESF2 and Communications, there are multiple qualification bodies. Again, depending on how you work within that ESF, we have listed out the various qual bodies that are there. You'll also notice on the bottom of 2 that we have TERT, or the Telecommunicators Emergency Response Task Force. That is a program that is handled with APCO and the National 911 Association. I've just recently gotten all of their qualifications, so those will be added in the next update that will be pushed out. So when you log in, you will see a plus sign there under TERT that you could go in and add those quals as well. Again, let's go back up to the DOT transportation one there. You see the top 3 CDLs, A, B, and C. We have the capacity there to put the underscores in that, but when you look down below on the combined hazmat and tank endorsement, we're limited to those 10 characters, so you don't see the underscores in there, and that's how you'll see these throughout the system and through the qualifications. On the right-hand side of this, we have ESF3. Currently, the only subordinate body in there is the National Qualification System. I have reached out to American Water Works and American Public Works Association to see if they're going to create any additional qualifications, but at this time, they have not sent anything back to me. So what you see nationally for Public Works is just from NQS. Next slide here is ESF4, again, a discipline to where it has multiple qualification bodies in it. In the upper right-hand side of the slide there, you'll see that the 3 primary subordinates are the NFPA, the National Qualification System, and then NWCG, or the National Wildland Fire Coordinating Group, which is something that is very near and dear to our hearts out here in the western U.S. Every one of the quals from the relevant bodies are listed in the system. So as we go through here, you'll see multiple slides of everything that is in NWCG as an example, and there are a lot of them in there. In ESF5, or the emergency management realm, we see qualifications from AHIMT, or the All Hazard Incident Management Team Association. That's traditionally associated with the Type 3 IMTs. And then we also have a bit of a problem here, and I'll be the first to admit this. This was my issue in Excel when I was doing some filtering, etc. What you see currently in the NQS subfolder is actually mostly FEMA qualifications. I am working on getting this updated and that update will be pushed out as soon as Leah and company can get that updated into live. So if you have folks that are that have NQS quals, if you can, hold off on them, honestly, probably until about the end of the month, and we'll get that update out there. Again, this was my fault and not a Salamander issue, as I learned some advanced skills in Excel. But what will come out in ESF5 when that correction is made is there will be an additional folder that's called FQS, or the FEMA qualification system for traditional FEMA employees in there, and then NQS will be updated and will correspond to everything that is found in the resource typing library tool, which is also put out by FEMA headquarters. So again, there is an issue right now in 5, and I totally own that one all on my own. ESF6, 2 primary bodies there currently are the American Red Cross and, again, the National Qualification System. American Red Cross is kind of the leader in this arena, so they have numerous qualifications in there that come from the Red Cross world for your personnel. And then we see there are, from the NQS side, just a small handful of those in there as well. ESF7, Logistics and Resource Mobilization. There's currently only one subordinate, and that is NQS. However, as we know, there are also additional qualifications from the AHIMT as well as NWCG, so the Type 3 IMT world, and also the National Wildfire Coordinating Group. Those additional logistics and public information qualifications are found over in ESFs 4, 5, and 15. And also, if you look back in 6 where we were just at, Red Cross has some logistics qualifications in there that you can go to. ESF8, or Public Health and Medical, is 3 primary bodies underneath it. NOLS, or the National Outdoor Leadership School, also traditionally known in the EMS community as the Wilderness EMT program or Wilderness Medicine. They have 4 qualifications currently that they show, and they're listed there. We also now have, for the first time, the National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians. That was not in the legacy system, but we do have those in here now. There are 4 current qualifications. And then we see within NQS, there is a lot of qualifications. A lot of those come out of the public health arena, public and environmental health, and a lot of that was driven by mass vaccination and pod operations. So you will see a lot of stuff in NQS in there as well. ESF9, for those of you that work in the search and rescue world, sometimes these folks can be a little hard to wrangle and get them to agree on things. But nevertheless, we have 3 subordinate bodies under ESF9. The first one being NASAR, or the National Association for Search and Rescue. And they have a host of qualifications in their group. Not to be confused with what we see typically in the West or in mountainous parts of the country, where we see a lot of avalanche and high-angle ropes search and rescue type operations. There are several different organizations and schools of thought as to how to make one quote-unquote national standard. They have not come into agreement with that. So at this point, they don't exist in the Tier 1 system. And currently what we have there for that is the NASAR quals. The next one in there is NQS. Again, they do have a lot of different qualifications in there. I do encourage folks who are looking at putting ESF9 quals on, just please make sure that you communicate and are on the same page with your local search and rescue leadership, because there are some unique differences in what the ESF9 quals look like overall. And last but not least, under Tier 9 Search and Rescue, ESF9 Search and Rescue, we do have the FEMA Urban Search and Rescue qualifications listed, both for the actual search team as well as the IST side of the house, and those are reserved for the 28 task forces across the country. ESF10, 2 bodies underneath that. Again, we have NFPA, or the National Fire Protection Association, and then we also have NQS, and those are both specifically related to hazardous materials response. ESF11, currently again in QS. The U.S. Department of Agriculture does have some qualifications. However, they're trying to get that formalized and finalized, and when they do that, we will get those added into there. The one group that we have in the entire system right now that doesn't have anything is actually ESF12. I could see that remaining the way that it is in all reality. The energy sector is very diverse, as you all are well aware, and trying to get some standardization out of that might be a challenge. So again, we have a placeholder there for ESF12 right now, but there's nothing in there at the Tier 1 level. For those of you who have worked with the legacy qual system, you remember back in the day that we didn't see anything in ESF13 or law enforcement when we clicked on that, but that has since been updated, and we do have NQS quals now coming out of the ESF13 world. So we're starting to see some work in that arena at the national level, and you see those folks there. ESF14, again, recovery. Currently, there's only 2 positions within NQS. The recovery world is ever expanding. I do anticipate a lot of additions to this moving down the road, probably later on this year. But as of today, we only have these 2 qualifications at the national level for them. ESF15 is public information. Currently at the at the Tier 1 level, there are just the 3 positions within NQS, but again, I remind folks to look back into ESFs 4, 5, and 6 for additional PIO qualifications that exist at the national level. I'm going to pause for just a minute and turn that back over to Leah to talk about that 16th folder there, the vaccines. Leah?
Sure. Thank you, Jeremy. So a couple weeks ago, we released a hotfix with a vaccine wizard, and that was to assist with the handling of the upcoming COVID-19 vaccinations. So this wizard, what it does is it allows you to quickly add credentials and then track each of those credentials with a given vaccine as a qualification. And those vaccine qualifications are listed in those vaccine folders that you see here. So what that folder does is it also allows you and enables you to manually add them to a person's record without using that wizard, so you can just do it manually right from that qualifications and training section. So again, it's just pulling those actual qualifications into that wizard, or you can go directly into that person's profile and then add the qualifications directly from there. So that's what this vaccine folder is all about. So I do want to state on this that if you guys wanted training on that specific wizard, please put a comment down there. Just put it in the chat, and I'll build out a training specifically just for that. Right now, we don't have any training that's scheduled for that at all, but if you would like something on that, please let me know. I'll pass it back to you, Jeremy.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Let me finish responding to my comments there, and we are good to go. All right, so that kind of rounds out the new structure and organization layout of the qualifications. These next couple of slides here are just some tips and things I've learned over the years, some best practice recommendations, if you will, as I've traveled and seen different states how they do this. Folks have asked, what's the best way to see all my people and all my relevant data? This is one example that's there, and again, all this information will be available in the slides after the course. This one here is the specific, the layout for the personnel page for you. Another one is, as you're well aware, there's multiple tiles you can put up on the home page when you first log in to Salamander Live, and this layout is one that many people have commented back that is a good version of that, so I've showed that there for you for your own use. All right, next we're going to go ahead and log into Salamander Live itself, and let me pick the right identity here. And Leah, are we seeing live, or do I need to share a different screen?
We are seeing you live.
Okay, perfect. All right, so one thing I do want to point out is if you are a general administrator, you very well may not see this qualifications and training over here in the left-hand menu bar. That is set by permission level, and I know for some organizations, they have different types of administrators, and so again, you may or may not see this over here. But for those of you that do, when you when you click on that, onto that federal, national, Tier 1 level, these are again, that's the folder structure you're going to see if you want to click into one and see what's there. But remember, on the Tier 1 level, the only people who can add, edit, delete, manipulate anything in the Tier 1 level is Salamander itself. So Leah and company back on the East Coast. So if you have a recommendation or you find something in there that's not right or doesn't make sense, please send Leah an email. You can also send me an email, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you about that. But again, at the Tier 1 level, this is pretty much a view-only function and not something that we can manipulate. So I'm going to go ahead and flip over to the People tab, and I'm going to expand my screen a little bit by clicking these three lines up here in the upper left, just so I've got more real estate to see. One of the questions that's come up from folks is, if we have legacy, we have legacy quals in the system now, is there an automatic switch when our account gets turned on to the new Tier 1 structure? And that answer is unfortunately no. And one of the biggest reason behind that is you can see here in this qualifications tile, or column, this person has numerous qualifications, but I'm not really sure who the authoritative body is that gave them that qualification. So I put this column in here. If you're an organization that decides you want to go back and update your personnel records from legacy quals to the new structure, by having that qual column in there, that also allows you to see those qualifications when you export this. And remember, at this level, anything that you see on this screen is exportable by hovering over the report and then clicking that CSV export, as you can see here, and that will allow you to look at all that data in Excel, and then from there you can determine whatever it is that you're ready to start working on with your data. But that's one way that some folks have said that they may look at going back and updating all their qualifications. So first of all, let's go in here to Jephthah Adams over at Moosewood Fire. I'm going to look at their qualification record. And again, I can see that this person has legacy quals in there. Now, as you move forward in moving to the Tier 1 structure, you can do a couple of things. You can go into the Tier 1 structure, and I'm going to look at Airport Firefighter. And I'm going to go to ESF4, and I believe that should show up under NFPA. Nope. It's going to show up under NQS, though. I do know that one. So, where did it go? Okay. NQS doesn't have air. I apologize for that one. Bad example.
Oh, Jeremy, you do have it. You added it already.
Oh, that's right. I added it. Thanks, Leah. All right, so let's go in here. Okay, so I've got Airport Firefighter here in the legacy quals. Again, remember that. This is legacy is what you're looking at over here. So if you wanted to go in and update this person to their airport in the new Tier 1 structure, you simply click on it and assign it. You can add their certification number and their issue and expiration dates, and then you can save it. Now you are, again, updating it to the NQS standard. As for their legacy qual, you can either click the box to unencode that qual, which means when you reprint their badge, that qual will not print in their QR code, and it will not print on the back of their badge, or you could delete it. Now there's two options. Why do I care which way I go? As an administrator, once you delete this legacy qual, you cannot ever go back and reassign it to them because it's not available over here in the structure. So what many folks have talked about doing is, because this may have old data in it here, they're just simply going to go in and unencode that so that they have it on the individual's record for legacy reporting purposes, but it's not going to imprint on their badge moving forward. Again, that's a local agency decision or a state policy depending on how you operate there. But again, once you delete a legacy qual, you can never go back and add it back on there again. Other question that's come up is, once we switch over, does that mean I have to reprint all my badges today? The answer is no. We talked about this back and forth a lot of ways, and what the final consensus is once your account switches over to the new structure, the old Tier 1 folder structure just becomes hidden from your account. And so when your current badges are scanned in the Salamander family of programs, it's going to recognize all of those qualifications. And then through attrition of lost cards or new employees, et cetera, eventually all the legacy quals will, work themselves out of the system, and we'll have all new, the new quals based on the Tier 1 structure over a period of time. Now that's going to take a lot of time in some places, others it may not take very long. Again, that's an agency decision on whether you go back and do a search and bulk update for qualifications, or if you just, say from this day forward, we're just going to use the new quals. A lot of those conversations are going to be left up to the jurisdictional level overall there. So that is our qualification for Mr. Adams out of Moosewood. As we go down here, like Richard Blackmore, he just has the one qual. He has law enforcement officer level 1. That doesn't tell me if that's a state qual or a federal qual or anything. So I could go in then to 13 and find an appropriate qualification and add that to his record. Now you see that we are an NQS law enforcement patrol officer, and you can move on forward with their record. Another piece here is the quick add or the search box. Anything that's in this Tier 1 structure, you can search in there. So I'm going to go ahead and look for an ARF. Oh, sorry, that's going to be a NQS. My bad typing today. We can see in here that we now have things that are coming up in the NQS world, and you can add those qualifications into that person's record. Okay, that pretty much takes us through the presentation on the new structure, how it's laid out, the logic behind it, how you can go back and search and bulk edit your personnel's qualifications if you want to, or anything like that. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and open it up either in the chat, or if you can open your mics up, any questions, comments, discussions that you may have.
Hey, Jeremy, this is Pat Miali from Colorado. Quick question for you. By the way, hope you're doing well. Can you talk about the bulk edit for the qual updates, please? Yes, ma'am. Pat, nice to hear you again. I swear we still need to get together. So the bulk editing, you can select multiple personnel. Again, I'm working with everybody in this demo account from Moosewood. Let's just go Moosewood Fire. You click on the edit button, the pencil, that edit multiple, and go under qualifications and training. Again, I can't go in and take out the old qualifications, but what I can do is go in, and if the search is going to work correctly, it will. I've got airport firefighter. I click on that.
and it's going to allow me to add that to all of those personnel records. What it won't allow me to do is enter the certification issue and expiration dates, again, because those are going to be unique to the individual. So the bulk edit is helpful or maybe not helpful depending on how you look at it. I can add the qualification to several people at once, but then I'm going to have to go back into each individual's records to put the, that other information, the certificate information, and the issue and expiration dates. Sorry, it's this one right here. If that's something that your agency tracks through Salamander, but if you track that in a different system, then you don't have to go back in and do this additional step. It's just one way that you can do some bulk edits on quals. Is that helpful, Pat?
Yes, it sure was.
Okay, all right. A question in the chat from Lauren: how do we get the upgrade to the new quals from legacy? Lauren, that is a process that your account owner would have to send an email in, and that'll be up on the next slide here when we're done, that says, we want to switch over to the new Tier 1 structure. And Lauren, if you're a individual agency, that's one issue to do. But if you operate under a state license, as an example, Colorado, where Pat's from, Pat can't send an email to Salamander and say, turn me on to the new Tier 1 structure. The state of Colorado has to send Salamander an email and say, turn it on, because that decision impacts all subordinate agencies of the Colorado license. Does that answer your question clear enough, Lauren? Yes, okay, perfect. So again, the ending slide here will have the right contact information that you can send that action to, Lauren, or have further conversation with. Anybody else have any questions or comments, either again in the chat or if you want to open up your mics? Okay, let me see if this will work. There you go. That's everything that I have for you all today. My information is there on the bottom. I'm more than happy to have further conversations, or if you see anything that looks weird, send me an email, let me know. There's Leah's information up there as well. And ma'am, I will turn it over to you. I appreciate everyone's time. And for those of my Colorado friends, look forward to hopefully seeing you guys again soon. Miss Leah, take it away.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for your time. Really appreciate you covering all the materials today. Just a couple things I wanted to add on there. There was a question that came up that was just for me here, so I just want to make sure that it was clear in here. Jeremy showed that you can do bulk edits, so you can do a batch edit to edit multiple records and add those qualifications in there. I do want to say that you can also use the personnel import template as well to do that. The only thing with that template is that you are limited to 5 qualifications per import, so you can use that to update those records with those new new Tier 1 qualifications. If you would like, I do have a Excel version of all the qualifications for the new Tier 1 set available. So if you'd like that, please send me an email and I can send that over to you. So again, that's just sent to training@salamanderlive.com. And then also there's a question on how to upgrade to the new quals from legacy to the new tiers. So the email that you want to email is orders@salamanderlive.com. So I'll put that in the chat so you have that, orders@salamanderlive.com. So have your account administrator for Salamander Live just send that request over to orders@salamanderlive.com, and it should take, it may take anywhere from 1 to 3 business days. It's got to be done on the back end per account by our development team. So that's why it's gonna, depending on how many requests we get in, it'll take, the turnaround time is usually 1 to 3 business days.
Leah, one other message that I had, the question came up is, how often will this be updated? As it stands right now, the intent when updates are there is to push them out on a quarterly basis. Again, you know, these different bodies update their stuffs on their own schedules. So in order to keep everything, you know, fairly succinct, the intent is to do that on a quarterly basis. However, anytime there is an update to the qual structure, that will go out in the normal email blast that is sent out by Salamander. So you guys should all get that information. And in that email, it's going to tell you what the changes were. And if there's a qual that is removed by an agency, as an example, as for now, that's going to go over into the hidden folder, and then it'll be replaced with the new one as it's appropriate. But all that information will come out kind of on a quarterly basis is the plan for right now. So thanks, Leah.
Thank you, Jeremy. So yes, please just look out for those that information in the monthly bulletins that we send out. So if you're not a part of that and you want to be on that list, that distribution list, just send us an email at training@salamanderlive.com. We'll make sure to include you on those distribution lists so you're included. All right, so that concludes our training for today. Tomorrow, we're going to be covering roster tile and collection. So again, this is our second run through of this. We did do this last week. So if you're new to Salamander Live or you haven't seen the new roster tile or the ability to create collections, please join me again tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. Central. And then on Thursday, we're going to be running through the pin join feature. So that, again, is at 1 p.m. So if you're interested in seeing how the pin join feature works, come back and join me then as well. So other than that, everyone, thank you all so much for your time today. We really appreciate that. And if you have anybody else that missed today's training that should have been on to learn about the new Tier 1 qualification set, have them join us again next week. So next week's your last run through of all these trainings. So that's your last opportunity. I will make sure to have a video of a pre-recorded training available within Salamander University, hopefully by the end of this month, so you guys have access to those videos to review the materials. Other than that, you guys all have a wonderful day. Enjoy your week. Stay safe out there.